Alrighty, good morning, YouTube, or probably afternoon now. Really don't know. But Hajim's here back with another quick movie review. I'm gonna try to do this as fast as I can because I have a spider sense that I'm gonna be interrupted. So if I talk kind of fast and you can't understand, we'll talk about it in the comments section below. But this is one of my favorite comic book movies as well as comic book stories, on it just in general. This one's X-Men First Class. This is pretty much a prequel slash origin of in the Fox verse of Charles Xavier's School for the Gifted Youngsters. I like this movie for a lot of reasons as well as a lot of fans. Mainly because they had a bad reputation and they had a new director on, well, not really new, but a certain director that and what Comic Book Girl 19 said actually cared about, what they were doing. And the acting in this was really great. This one stars James McAvoy, Jennifer Lawrence, Michael Fassbender, uh, Lucas Till, who else is in this? Zoe Kravitz, Kevin Bacon, and I'm drawn on a blank on the actor that plays Beast, but Nicholas Hoult. There we go. Uh, Again, this is pretty much an origin of the school, at least in the movie verse, Fox verse, whatever you want to call it. And at the same time, it takes place in the 1960s as well as in World War II, 1940s, and it's during the Cuban Missile Crisis. And one of the thing I love about films in general, mainly historical films, and if you look at my content, my timeline, you can tell of the historical or a lot of history films I have done, whether the story takes place within history as well as just in the time, because a lot of comic book movies, for some weird reason, they love to do World War II a lot or World War One, and you rarely see anything else. I think Watchmen touched on Vietnam a little bit and the situation with the Cold War in the 80s. But this one, it also pertains to when the X-Men had first came out, which was in 1963. And this story, I think it takes place in 1962 or 63, one of them, one of those. But pretty much it originally started out with the origin story of Magneto, and it later developed into First Class. The funny thing, this is one of the best X-Men movies, like between the gap of X-Men 2 all the way to this one, that was like a really, you know, good story. Um Mainly number one, it was really the actors that had brought it into the story. They actually said that this story went through so many rewrites and they were in a lot of hell, during production, because they were debating, what mutants to put in, what pretty much what story beats, to do it on. If you remove one element of the story, the whole thing falls apart. But the good thing, was one of the movies that inspired me to do the comic book kind of I'm doing right now. Even though all the stories are written, I kind of put it on pause. But just the whole historical context in the whole thing, and it made it really believable because, like I said, it was the Cuban Missile Crisis, between Cuba, Russia, and the United States. And it was pretty much saying that the X-Men were the main reason why nuclear war didn't happen. So pretty much the main villain in this is Sebastian Shaw of the Hellfire Club, and what he's trying to do is start nuclear war and indirectly wipe out all the humans. So the excuse me, the mutants can all live. Pretty much in a way, in an X-Men Apocalypse, it was pretty much what Ansaba Noor was trying to do, except he had a much better plan. Well, more power and indirectly somewhat of a better plan, but the writers decided not to really execute in a certain way. But I'll talk about that when we get to that film. Um, I really love Michael Fassbender's acting in this. This was like the first movie that I saw where he was the main star. Of course, Inglorious Bastards was indirectly the first movie I seen him in. I just didn't know who he was, and even on that film, I believe Brad Pitt had said that, yeah, that man is going places, and he's had a couple of duds over the years. I don't know what happened. Well, it's not him. It's really the movies that he's done. I know the recent one. I think it was called the Snowman or something like that. It had got like bad reviews, and of course with the last few X-Men films, he didn't get a lot of flack, but you know, he's pretty much trying to do the best that he wants or can in a badly written film. And again, James McAvoy did a good job. Of course, the first movie I saw him in was Wanted, and he did a good job in that. And he, like I said, he's a very good actor versus the character of Wesley, and then of course Charles Xavier. He's not as profane and X, Y, and Z. And also heard a very good positive review on his performance in Split as well, because even he stated that was the most hardest job he ever had to do, because it's technically 12 characters he's playing at one time. But I really love the fact that they had cast these guys, and now I want to go back and see some of their other work. Well, I already saw Michael Fassbender's in 12 Years a Slave, and what was it? The other one I said, Inglorious Bastards. But the one I want to see James McAvoy in now is The Last King of Scotland with what's that dude's name? Forrest Whitaker is in it. It was about an African dictator, I believe, and I think he played one of the South Africans that was living there, or a journalist or something like that. But pretty much with what I can really tell is that if you've seen Sir Ian McKellen's performance or Patrick Stewart, it's funny what they told the actors. They pretty much told them, don't be like those guys, not just yet. Just be yourself. But everything that was written about their character, you can see where it was building up to. And another historical context, as well as another two sets of characters. These characters were pretty much, Malcolm X and Dr. King. I think I said that before on another review. And if you see Black Panther, it was the same thing. The thing is that, when the comics were created, of course, it was a good allegory for prejudice. And of course, thanks to the great Stan Lee, he knew how to write it in a way that wasn't preachy, but you had to be fully aware of it. And the funny thing with me is that some people would say, a situation like this wouldn't happen. But if you look at the current climate today of how, they say something within our genome can do this, and of course play into politics, who's really going to take sides. I really do believe that some humans will try to, do things in the world of what the human characters do in the X-Men as far as control, or try to, fully, exterminate. And even Magneto himself has said in the film, they'll be our friends today, but after a while, when they realize their rank, it can come to an end, it's going to be extermination and genetic testing and all that. And he was right. If, the rest of the series, that's exactly what happened. And in the correlation, I believe that's kind of going on today. Like I said, it's an allegory for racism or people who are just different in general. And they want to put out statistics and do certain kind of testing, physically on certain people, Black people in particular, with the whole Tuskegee experiment and the syphilis thing, and just a whole bunch of other nasty shit I don't want to get into, with our American history. But, it's very funny how it's a reflection on history as well as off. And it blows, this movie didn't come out when I was younger, because I remember us at one point we were talking about the Cuban Missile Crisis, and we had a whole thing. And, I would have brought this movie in, and I think I did bring in one of my films one day into class because it was in correlation. But I think it was A New Frontier. That's what it was, Justice League. But it's funny how, some people at one point was scoping this off, it was just comic book, imagine, fantasy. But they kind of fail to realize if you really have to read, the story. You can't just go off of face value, and it kind of sucks because I remember one of my English teachers was saying, you know, I think she said if the beginning of the movie doesn't get me, I'm not going to be interested in watching the rest. And I'm like, that's kind of a stupid thing to say because, you know, I can understand if it's like an hour, but yeah, it's kind of like a certain performance audition you have to give before you see that acceptance because, there are some certain films where I don't like the beginning either, but it does pick up really, really quickly as soon as the film starts going. Um, Another funny thing I want to point at, going back with the racism a little bit, it's just within this movie. It was funny because another YouTuber had pointed this out, but there was a scene in here where Sebastian Shaw goes to recruit the mutants, and when he says, "I'm not here to hurt you, but I'm here to recruit you," when mankind figures out what we can do, um, will you be enslaved? And it was funny because as soon as he said that, it cut to the mutant Darwin, who was black. And it was funny when I didn't really catch on it till the second time I saw it. But then I was like, I wonder if anybody else has seen this who watched this movie. And then another YouTuber called it out. I was like, yeah, that's kind of funny. And then right after that scene, he ended up dying, which in my opinion, they had nerve to his character because Darwin is like is a very strong mutant. I would say he's like one level below like Logan, especially with his healing factor. But that was just another additional thing I wanted, to pretty much say. Uh, Nothing else, much else I can really think of. The soundtrack of the music is really good, especially Magneto's theme. They had two different versions, and then there was one on YouTube I found where they did a cut of it, where I think it was a little bit longer, and it was probably in the movie. I just can't really remember. One of them was like an Argentinian Spanish guitar one. And that was another thing I liked about this movie too. There were certain historical things that did, keep in fact, like or keep true. Like when Magneto's in the prison camp, and if you've seen the first X-Men movie, it actually cuts what happened after that, and how he went to go hunt down the Nazis. And I thought it was just in this movie, but somebody else said it on YouTube as well. A lot of them did go to South America, Argentina in particular, and I was like, oh wow, they actually got that one right, and yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. Feel like more like a rapid fire, and I'm glad I was able to do this with no interruption. But if you guys have any comments, questions, or like, comment, and share, and I will talk to you guys later. Peace.